you wanted to talk about 991, right? The HB 991, defamation, false light, and unauthorized publication of name or likeness. Oh my goodness. It sounds so important. And I brought this up last week to talk about how this is the one where if I call the governor of Florida a bigot, and he sincerely believes in all those causes, then he gets to sue me.
Okay, so a little bit about this bill.
Mm-hmm.
I went ahead and pulled up the actual text of the bill and read it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it's that bad. I think it actually is kind of a good bill.
In what way? What's it going to do to make the people
Yeah,
of Florida
so
better?
let me pull up the bill for myself one more time here so I can go through it. So part of the reason that this bill came about, I think, and I'm about to post a couple of links to you real quick.
Okay.
And I've got a little bit of video we gotta watch so you can see what I'm talking about.
Okay.
There's one. And then here's the other. And if we open up the first link and skip to minute 32:35.
Okay, loading it up.
Well, it's great to be here
32:35.
in Brevard
Yep.
County at Ugali High School. I want to thank Rich
32.
for continuing to do.
33, 34, 35. 32:35. Okay.
And then we'll go to 35:05. And I will try to see if I can hear your video on there. I don't know if I can.
Okay. 35:05.
So first of all, what you're saying is wrong. That's a fake narrative. So first of all, when we did the first pharmacies that had it were CVS and Walgreens, and they had a long-term care mission. So they were going to the long-term care facilities. They got vaccine in the middle of December. They started going to the long-term care
So right now
facilities
he's
the third week
explaining
of December to do
the process they used
For vaccines?
for, how they decided who was going to distribute them and whatnot in Florida.
LTC.
And the reporter it has asked a question, or maybe just about to ask a question, essentially accusing him of pay for play because Publix ended up getting the vaccine contract for the distribution to the general public, and Publix also donated $100,000 to his campaign at one point.
Okay.
So that's what the reporter is going to be accusing. But he's sitting here explaining right now exactly, why that's not correct, right?
That was their mission.
Okay.
That was very important, and we trusted them to do that. As we got into January, we wanted to expand the distribution points. So yes, you had the counties, you had some drive-through sites, you had hospitals that were doing a lot, but we wanted to get it into communities more. So we reached out to other retail pharmacies, Publix, Walmart. Obviously, CVS and Walgreens had to finish that mission, and we said we're gonna use you as soon as you're done with that. For the Publix, they were the first one to raise their hand, say they were ready to go. And you know what? We did it on a trial basis. I had 3 counties. I actually showed up that weekend and talked to seniors across 4 different Publix. How was the experience? Is this good? Should you think this is the way to go? And it was 100% positive, so we expanded it, and then folks liked it. And I can tell you, if you look at a place like Palm Beach County, they were kind of struggling at first in terms of the senior numbers. I met with the county mayor, I met with the administrator, I met with all the folks at Palm Beach County, and I said, here's some of the options. We can do more drive-through sites. We can give more to hospitals. We can do the Publix. We can do this. They calculated that 90% of their seniors live within a mile and a half of a Publix. And they said, we think that would be the easiest thing for our residents. So we did that. And what ended up happening was you had 65 Publix in Palm Beach. Palm Beach is one of the biggest counties, one of the most elderly counties. We've done almost 75% of the seniors in Palm Beach, and the reason is because you had the strong retail footprint. So our way has been multifaceted. It has worked. And we're also now very much expanding CVS and Walgreens now that they've completed the long-term care mission. Yes? And it's wrong. It's wrong. It's a fake narrative. I just disabused you of the narrative, and you don't care about the facts because obviously I laid it out for you in a way that is irrefutable. And so it's clearly not. No, no, no. You're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. Yes, sir.
Okay. So
Okay,
what
that's.
are we even talking about?
Well, hold on. I got another 15 seconds.
Okay.
Or actually, what are you at? It ends at 35:05.
Yeah, that's when I ended.
Okay, yeah. So now we're gonna look at the second link.
Okay.
If Kyle confirms it, at least viewers can hear our audio.
Yeah, Kyle, do you hear the governor when he talks? Because I suck at OBS. Have the second link loaded. It's a minute and 102.
Yep.
Okay. Should I
BAFK.
just go ahead and start it?
Yeah, go for it. Okay, so you actually only need to. You can skip to 10 seconds on this one, and then it's the rest of it. Well, too late now.
Yeah.
Um,
I have it muted. Jeez.
yeah, so same question from the initial one from the
But he
reporter.
declined our request for an interview. We caught up with him south of Orlando.
Publix, as you know, donated $100,000 to your campaign, and then you rewarded them with the exclusive rights to distribute the vaccination in
So
Palm
first of all,
Beach.
what you're saying is wrong.
Watch what
How
they
is that
do
not
here.
pay to play?
That's a fake narrative. I met with the county mayor, I met with the administrator, I met with all the folks at Palm Beach County, and I said, here's some of the options. We can do more drive-through sites. We can give more to hospitals. We can do the Publix. And they said, we think that would be the easiest thing for our residents.
But Melissa McKinley, the county commissioner in the Glades, told us the governor never met with her about the Publix deal.
The criticism is that it's pay to play.
Did you
Wrong,
notice where they
it's wrong,
jump
it's a
cut
fake
and
narrative.
cut out
I just disabused
2.5
you of the
minutes of
narrative.
his 3-minute response?
Yes.
And then they talk over him for the last few seconds of this too. If you hear the narrator come on.
Okay. So,
Now, if you go to House Bill 991, would you say that 60 Minutes accurately represented what he said in response to these questions?
yes. They
You
can't.
would.
Yes.
Not even close.
He just said bullshit.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did. He's just
There is
blabbering.
not
bullshit.
even-
You don't
not-
have. If he gives an hour-long speech, they don't have the time to put an entire hour-long speech on the news. So they clip and they take the little bits. I'm just taking literally what these people. It's a minute long. His press conference was 40 minutes long. They don't have time to put 40 minutes on there, so they take the important bits, chop them, and then tell you what the results are. That's just
They
the
took a
news.
3-minute clip and turned it into a 1-minute clip and then talked over half of it. Now, the point that what they're trying to do here is make it sound like he engaged in pay for play,
Right.
which is not true.
Maybe it's not true.
Well, there's literally no other outlet that like when this got called out, everybody was like, okay, yeah, you're right. This was totally deceptive editing. Like,
So if they're deceptively editing, then we should not pay attention to that website. Which website was it? This is 60 Minutes. Great. Fuck 60 Minutes. Hey, 60 Minutes. You're probably deceptively editing, and you need to do better.
okay.
Awesome.
Now let's go to House Bill 991.
Okay.
The bill text, PDF.
I don't want any news organization to deceptively edit or clip jump or do those kinds of things. That's bad.
Well, good. So if you scroll down to page 8 of the House bill, which I'll link the PDF to if you want.
I've got
Here you go.
something here, but I don't think it's the right thing. Okay, I've got the PDF loading slowly. Got page 8 right here.
Okay, now look at the second paragraph, the one that's got the 3.
Editing any form of media so that it attributes something false or leads a reasonable viewer to believe something false about the plaintiff may give rise to a defamation claim for false light. Okay.
So you don't want media outlets deceptively editing, right?
No, I don't.
Great. Well, now if they do, you can sue them for it.
That has always been true. There, okay, this gets back to the same thing that we always come in. You find a good thing in these bills, and tell me how good it is, but then we find a poison pill that ruins the fucking Constitution. And that's
What's the
what I
poison
think.
pill?
I haven't found it yet, but all the media places I know, they're not exactly going to be on the side of this
Not
bill,
being allowed to lie
not being
anymore.
able to lie anymore.
Yeah.
I don't think that this will be used on Fox News. Fox News literally lies. It won't get used on them. It won't get used on anything that falsely edits a liberal.
There is no language in here that would stop that from happening.
Right. It's the
So if
prosecutors who will choose who they go after, and they will go after whoever the fuck they want. They will go
it's
after
not
people.
prosecutors though. This isn't a state issue. This is individuals that are defamed are able to bring a civil lawsuit.
And they will clog up the courts with hundreds of these things, and it will never get anything done. Okay, let me find what this bill has talked about in the past.
Now there are a couple other things that I think might actually be good things about this bill.
Mhm.
So first of all, it does not make. I think I saw in a couple of the articles I read about it that it would make DeSantis and other elected officials not considered public persons for the purpose of defamation. That's not true. It actually does. Anybody who's an elected official is still considered a public person for defamation purposes. What it does do, however, is say that you can't consider somebody a public official, or not a public official, a public person for matters unrelated to the reason that they are a public person. So, for example, if you are Tiger Woods
Mhm.
and Tiger Woods cheated on his wife a bunch of times.
Mhm.
But if you then, as a news outlet, said he cheated on his wife a bunch of times and also beat her, well, the beating her might not be true.
Mhm.
You have to have sources for that and
Mhm.
prove it, right?
Mhm.
Well, under the previous standard, which is actual malice for defaming a public person, it's really, really hard to sue that outlet for defamation, even though what they printed was not true. In this case, it's okay. Well, Tiger Woods is famous for being a golfer,
Mhm.
so if you report untrue information about him unrelated to his golfing activities, he can and should be able to sue you for it. And I agree with that.
No.
Why not?
If they okay, that already exists. This 991 bill is making crime illegal.
No, 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 no.
It's
No,
making
it
it
doesn't already
easier. It
exist
already
because
exists. These things already
the
exist.
actual malice standard is unbelievably difficult to prove,
Yes, because we
and
live
it
in a
shouldn't be.
country with free speech.
Well, you don't get
I'm
to
allowed
just
to
lie
say
about people.
yes, you do.
Whether you know
You
that you're
get
lying,
to.
I mean, if you
Ron DeSantis was born on Mars. I'm allowed to say that. I know for a fact that he was born on Mars. I'm allowed to say that. It, if he sues me for that, I don't have free speech. If he sues me for saying such, then we do not have a First Amendment. The First Amendment is gone. It has ceased to be. and you're only allowed to say true things. And whether or not he chooses to sue me and not other people depends on how powerful I am. I am nobody with no money. So if he sues me, but he doesn't sue MSNBC because they have a thousand lawyers and it would cost him, free speech doesn't exist. Free speech doesn't. We shouldn't be determining free speech by who has the most money and power.
That's not what's being determined at all. In
It's
fact,
it's making a
this
wild.
bill actually would help a little bit, at least, in allowing people that are not as wealthy and powerful to sue people for defamation as well. Because if you have a clear case and you're a little guy, this bill adds entitlement for attorney's fees as well and legal fees to the prevailing plaintiff if the plaintiff does prevail.
Hmm.
So,
And
if you are a smaller entity and you have reasonable attorney's fees and legal costs involved in suing somebody for defamation, guess what? You don't have to worry. If you know that you're going to win that case, you don't have to worry about the amount it's going to cost you in legal fees to sue somebody.
that's if Ron DeSantis is talking shit about me. That's not how free speech is supposed to work. I brought up something called the Tallahassee Democrat, but it says right here, I believe it will introduce a whole new wild west of litigation. And I think he's right. This is about intimidating free speech, chilling free speech, and silencing critics. That's exactly what this is. I think this is a very well put together sentence by Mr. Douglas Sowell. It introduces a world of wild west litigation. There will be people litigating left, right, and center. There will be thousands upon thousands upon thousands of lawsuits because of this.
That's fine.
That's not fine.
Every
They're not
time,
going to get
every
dealt
time
with.
a bill every time a bill gets passed, yes, adding a new bill that changes rules is going to result in some churn of the waters for a period of time until new precedents get set, and then it becomes much more concrete and cut and dry. And then it's not the wild, wild west anymore. But you have to make new bills.
No, you don't.
We had this
You
conversation
don't
with
have to make new bills.
we had this almost the exact conversation about Roe versus Wade being gone. Right? I mean, yes, you're going to have a certain amount of chaos, but eventually it normalizes.
Until they shake it up again. Chaos is a ladder. Republicans want chaos. They want chaos so that they can come out on top. This is not about, it's not about settling things. It's about shaking things up so that they can profit and they
Did you
can
just
get more
quote
power.
Littlefinger?
Yes, chaos is a ladder. Littlefinger is right. Chaos is a
He
ladder, and he
he
causes
loses the
chaos.
Game of Thrones, you know.
He causes chaos so that he can't profit, and then eventually he loses. He causes chaos to profit. That's the entire.
All I'm saying
That's
is
what I'm
that
saying.
every legislation that gets passed is going to cause at least a little bit of chaos.
Then it's not good legislation.
Then no legislation is good legislation. Let's
Legislation.
repeal the government.
How does if you cause more harm with your litigation, don't do it. Look at what it does. Do some basic comprehension of what you will do in the future with this legislation. And if it makes things worse, don't do it. If the people who are reading it and saying, hey, this is going to introduce a wild west of litigation and chills free speech and silences your critics, maybe don't pass it.
Well, look, this is one dude's opinion. You
I
know,
know, and I share his opinion.
that's
I
fine.
think he's correct. I
But
think this is
I
going
don't
to
think
go,
he is. I think this is
man,
fine.
I think this is going to go very badly.
Well, we'll find out. I mean, but it definitely doesn't seem like a bill that is everything's on fire kind of bill. It's not a. To me, this bill says, "Hey, you're not allowed to lie about people."
And
Not and put it to print at least. I mean,
right,
you
and
saying something out loud is on our YouTube channel is a little bit different than a newspaper with millions of readers
mm-hmm,
publishing lies about you.
mm-hmm. And we have a system in place to challenge those lies. We don't need a new law saying stealing is wrong. Stealing is legal. It's already illegal. We know it. And we have laws in place.
Okay.
This
What about the
991.
blogs and?
Mhm.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say 991 is an attempt by a governor to silence his critics and shut down people who disagree with him. He's using the power of the government to make people stop talking.
I don't think that that's the intent. Uh, I think the intent is to stop people from lying in print. Uh, and by the way, this legislation being in place would actually make it more. Well, we had a perfect example last week. Would make the defamation lawsuit by Dominion against Fox News stronger.
Well, sure it would. Fox News lies a lot. But
Well,
what's
it would
not
make the
going to
lawsuit
happen?
stronger because
Hmm.
at that point you don't have to publish. You don't have to prove actual malice in this case. It's a reckless disregard for the truth is enough, right?
And who will
So there's
decide
that.
that? Who will decide those things? Those things are going to be decided by judges who are Republican and elected by Republicans and or appointed by the Republican governor.
The judges are still supposed to be impartial.
Yeah, they're supposed to be, but they ain't. They haven't been for 30, 40 years. I don't trust them anymore. And I don't trust them because Republicans are nuts. They're fucking throwing out bills like this, 991. They're throwing out bills. I've got a dozen more fucking tabs open of madness from Republican people. And then we've got judges that are saying they are Republican and they're voted into place by Republican people and appointed by Republican governors. I don't trust them.
I see. Well, I will say this is at least the judges are not politically motivated entities in the sense that they're not running for election.
I mean, some of them are.
Well, some, but not all.
I mean, judges
Not
are elected
most.
sometimes.
Some of them. But in any case, I mean, I don't think this is going to be the terrible, horrible situation that you think it's going to be. There is one more part to this article that you brought up last week that you're reading right now. There's one that says there's a line that says something about a love letter to bigots. If you want to find that one.
Empower bigots. It also says that statements by an anonymous source are assumed false in a defamation case. Statements by an anonymous source are assumed false. Journalists use anonymous sources to learn about misdeeds in government, industry, and other sectors. They use them to expose what is going on behind the scenes so that the public not only knows about it, but has the ability to discuss and pressure their officials to act. Block said removing that weakens not only journalists, but public discourse. Anything from an anonymous source is wrong.
Well, there are plenty of instances where you're able to provide information to a judge that's confidential. The judge has the duty to maintain the confidentiality of that information for the purpose you can reveal that information for the purpose of a ruling. So if you have an anonymous source and you say, well, I can tell you who the person is and I'll tell you who corroborated it, and only the judge gets to know. And you can tell the judge, and the judge can then decide if an anonymous source could be anybody, right? I mean, it could be the janitor somewhere
And that's an
who
anonymous source who saw a thing.
Saw a thing but didn't understand what he was seeing, and gave a completely incorrect impression of the situation that then they reported on. But that's not doing your due diligence. You're going to need to have corroborating sources and whatnot, right? So having an anonymous source, if you just say, "Oh no, my source is anonymous. I'm not gonna tell you who it was," or even worse, "Oh, I actually don't know who was the one that gave me that phone call and told me what was going on." then yeah, you didn't do your due diligence.
Okay, I agree. Due diligence is a thing. It already exists. We don't need this bill to get it started.
Well,
Anonymous people, the anonymous janitor who didn't know what he was seeing can be thrown out, and it has been thrown out in court already. Such a thing
well, it
exists.
hasn't. It The thing is that if you
Nobody
have an
gets.
anonymous source, you publish something based on that,
Yes.
okay, without doing your due diligence, then the standard of actual malice in that case doesn't did not previously include uh, a complete disregard for due diligence. Essentially, like this is an anonymous source. Don't know, what exactly it is that they know, uh, or how they interpreted a situation. Maybe they did it improperly. If you, that's why it's saying that anonymous sources are considered false for the purposes of a defamation suit. But like I said, you could probably tell the judge confidentially
Hmm.
what your sources were without revealing them to the public.
Okay. That sounds fine. I don't know why we need a new law to do it. According to Joe Cohn, the Foundation of Individual Rights and Expression, passage of this dangerous bill will spell disaster for free speech by constricting the open debate that is critical for democracy to function.
Not at all.
I,
Um, but I guess we just disagree.
if
But
you're
no,
worried
I think
about
this
what you're
is
going to say, you will not say what you're thinking. It's anti-free speech. Like it's constricting speech. I mean, okay, we are disagreeing on the endpoints. I agree. Does this constrict speech, even in a way that you accept? That
even in a way that I accept. So if speech includes lying about somebody in a way that can damage their livelihood or reputation,
mm-hmm.
then yes, I think we should curtail that.
Okay. Then that is, I guess, the crux of it. Um, I don't want to do that. I think constricting speech is bad.
I think this is a one step in the direction that you might appreciate. I mean, haven't you been telling me about how, there's, uh, it seems like people are living in two worlds.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here's one way to get it so people aren't living in two worlds. It's
Right.
if there
I
is
agree with you.
lies being published, this makes it easier to uh, to sort of find, have recourse against those lies.
Oh, I think I agree with you there. We will all live in one world, and that is the world where Ron DeSantis's enemies do not get to talk, and we will have one narrative, and he will make sure that we have one narrative, and it's the one that he approves of. It is the one that he likes.
Well, you realize that this bill again doesn't have a partisan uh,
It will be used as a
language to
partisan
it.
weapon. It will be
It
used in a partisan way.
only if the left allows it to be. The left can just as easily sue people for defamation under the rules of this bill.
And the
So any
Republican
outlet that
governor can
publishes something
ban it.
um, about Hillary Clinton is using adrenochrome for
Mm-hmm.
uh, you know like life extending technology,
Great.
whatnot. Well, guess what? Becomes easier for her now to sue somebody for it.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
And if that bill goes before a judge appointed by Ron DeSantis, I am saying, this is my opinion from this point on, they will not take on the case. They will say, oh, well, that's fine, you can do that.
I don't think that's the case. So we just
I'm
disagree on
being
the
very, very,
outcome
I'm
here.
being very, very cynical here. I agree. Right now, I'm being very cynical, and I'm telling you that Republican judges will allow every bad thing to happen to Democrats, and they will fully prosecute every bad thing that happens to the Republicans.
I guess we'll find out, and then you can tell me I'm wrong
And that's what I'm
when.
worried about. And maybe this bill doesn't pass. Maybe it doesn't happen. Maybe it gets shut down by the Supreme Court, which I suspect it would. Um, I suspect that the Supreme Court already, I mean, they already have had this debate. The Supreme Court already had this debate, and they already figured out, and then libel laws are put in place. Libel and slander laws are already put in place. Like, I mean,
Bible slander. Well, they're extremely difficult to, what's the word, to bring action against
yes, they
at
are.
present. And
Because
I think that they're too difficult. I think they should
we
be a
have a
little less difficult.
freedom of speech.
Yeah, that I get it. I get what you're saying.
Hmm.
I still don't think you should just be able to lie about people.
Okay. I think you should be able to lie about people, but we should all tell each other who's lying and figure out who's lying and then not pay attention to them and run them out of business.
Yes, and that is how you get to realities.
Mm, no, how you get to reality is people who want the lie to be true, and so they believe it and they press it and they forward it and they keep propagating it, even though they ignore reality.
I got you. All right, there's one more thing about this bill
Okay.
that I want to bring up, and it was highlighted in your article.
Okay.
Uh, so if you go to that article again, and you go to the part where he quotes, it's the part that says a defendant cannot prove the truth of an allegation of discrimination with respect to sexual orientation or gender identity by citing a plaintiff's constitutionally protected religious expression or beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
And then a defendant cannot prove the truth of an allegation of discrimination with respect to sexual orientation or gender identity by citing a plaintiff's scientific beliefs. So,
Mm-hmm.
if you are a small business, for example, or a tech startup, okay, and you fire an employee who is homosexual, for
Hmm.
example, all this is saying is that you can't turn around and say, I was fired because I am gay. And then when you're asked why you're saying that, you say, well, my boss is Muslim and Muslims don't like gays. That is not a justification for essentially, you're going to bring a huge backlash against this business for this. Now, if there was discriminatory behavior that took place or something else that you can point to that you can prove you were discriminated against on the basis of that, that's fine. Like if there were comments made to you negatively at the workplace and or you were actively discriminated against in other ways, like not being invited to like a work party or something, anything
So,
other than,
okay.
well, my boss is a Muslim, right?
Okay. I'm
That is what that is saying. Is
not
you
following
can't
you.
just
These
say,
things already exist. Workplace discrimination law exists. We have that. And well,
I
so
know
what
we
is
do.
this bill trying to change? What is this bill updating? What is it changing? I couldn't follow. I heard what you said, but I'm like not sure what this bill is doing.
Well, so workplace discrimination law
Hmm.
and being able to claim that you were fired for a particular reason are two different things. So if you call up a news outlet, or if this guy that gets fired calls up a news outlet
Hmm.
and says, I was fired because I'm gay,
Hmm.
and the reason is my boss was Muslim,
Hmm. And then
then the
the
news
paper
outlet runs with
runs.
it. Exactly. That is the paper publishing something that they didn't do their due diligence on, or at least get another reason.
Hmm.
And if they publish an outlet saying, or they publish an article saying, tech startup fires gay man, uh, are they bigoted? Right? Then that is a problem, and
I
they
don't
don't get to
think
do that.
that's what happens. First of all, it that if that happened, it would be a problem. If the uh, news organization doesn't do its due diligence, yes, I can see it being a problem. And then the company can sue the news organization. That already exists. That happens now. That happened with Dominion. Dominion did it without this Florida law. What is the Florida law doing?
That the Dominion lawsuit is a completely different situation from what I'm talking about.
It's exactly the same. A news organization said a thing that was not true. It hurt the company. The company is suing. That already exists. We don't need Florida 991 to do that. That exists.
All this is saying is that the boss's or somebody's religion is not proof of discrimination.
So it's lowering the bar on what's considered defamation.
Very, very slightly, but under a constitutionally protected belief.
I'm not sure what that has to do with anything. If we give too much credence to constitutionally protected beliefs, it laws are going to go out the window. Order and law and order is going to go right out the window.
Well, there's a difference between beliefs and actions again,
Yeah, I know.
which
But if your
if
belief leads you to an action, and then you say, "Oh, well, I believe it, so it's okay," and we
exactly
accept
wrong. No.
that, well,
Nope.
that's what's going to happen. That's what's
That
coming.
is
That's
not
what's
that's
absolutely
not
going to
what
happen.
happens. It's not how it works. That
That's
is not what will happen. We already I'll give you a perfect example.
okay.
If you believe that um as part of your religion, you have to kill somebody, and
Hmm.
then you go do it, and then you don't get to say, "Oh, well, it's part of my religion."
Hmm.
It doesn't work like that.
No, it doesn't at the moment because you have
Exactly.
laws that are more important than your beliefs.
It doesn't work like that. So
Right.
even if you have that belief, you don't get to go kill people
Okay. Well,
because
it's my
it's
belief that
against
I
the
get
law.
to fire gay people. You know,
Well,
like
again,
where do we draw
you
these
don't get to
lines? These
discriminate.
lines get pushed. They're pushing lines. They're lowering the bar on what's considered defamation to make us stop talking.
I don't think that's the case at all. I think that this is
Then
you might maybe you think it's an overcorrection. I think it is far too difficult um, to prove a defamation lawsuit at present, and I think this is a correction to that. Now,
okay.
maybe it might be an overcorrection. We'll see.
Well,
But I think for now, the idea is about right.
okay. The and that's fine. That if you're thinking that it's too hard to sue someone for defamation, then that's fine. That's a political stance. That's acceptable to me. Um, we can leave that there. I will give you that last word on it. So the
Okay.
bar is too high for defamation, in your opinion. That's fine.
Yes.
Oh, hi. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. If you liked what you saw, hit the like button, press the subscribe button. Uh, if you want to tell me how right I am, feel free to leave a comment. If you want to tell me how wrong I am, leave a comment too. That's good. Um, this is just kind of a hobby for me, so I appreciate you coming by, giving it a watch, and pressing the YouTube buttons. Thanks.